For those with a passion for boisterous dining, the place to go used to be Frank Baker's restaurant in West Vancouver. But hard times closed the restaurant and put Baker on the skids. Now, however, he's on a roll once again.
No, I don't care about being a millionaire. I don't care about being wealthy.
You did, though, before.
I never gave it a thought. I happened to be and lived like one. But that wasn't important to me. I had the money. It just came so easily.
Want the top down?
Frank Baker. You haven't lived in Vancouver if you haven't run into him sometime. He was Vancouver's most flamboyant restaurant owner. And if you don't believe that, all you have to do is ask him. He's always putting on a show. But for the last few years, it's been all show and no dough. Frank Baker's flat busted.
Now watch this, watch this, watch this. That's the mustache.
They used to call Frank Baker Mr. Vancouver. He's been playing the trumpet nearly the whole time he's lived here. He figured out the best way to make it through the army was keep blowing the horn, his own, and the trumpet. After the war, Frank was back in Vancouver, starting to make money, and starting to make a reputation as a clown and a bit of a ladies' man. The lady he married 36 years ago, Dorothy, is still with him. They have 2 daughters. Baker served 3 terms as Vancouver alderman and said he was tired of sitting on the fence when he quit in 1962. Those were the days that he used to dress up as Captain Vancouver. And remember the attic? The decor matched Frank Baker's style, loud. Here's Frank opening the restaurant in his characteristic white suit. It was always the white suit. In 1969, Baker was named Man of the Year by the Restaurant Association. And he was Man of the Hour when he bought James Bond's famous car. He owned several flashy cars, but the cars are gone now, and hard times have fallen on Frank Baker. Last year, he lost the attic. There wasn't much left by the time he showed up to see his beloved restaurant go under the auctioneer's hammer. He did manage to salvage a few of his trademark Tiffany lamps. And self-promoter to the end, he kept that wax dummy of himself, the only other Frank Baker in the entire world.
Where was the bottom? How far was the bottom?
As low as you can get. To almost the point of not wanting to be in this world anymore.
Was it that close?
It was that close. With both Dorothy and I. It was that close and that serious. We went to the very, very bottom. We lost everything. How are your cars, Frank? We lost them. How's the boat, Frank? We lost it. How's the business, Frank? We lost it. How's your apartment, Frank? We lost it. How's everything, Frank? We lost it.
What stopped you from taking the pills or stepping off the bridge?
I don't know. Maybe God.
He doesn't go to church anymore, but that's where he learned to play the trumpet, in gospel school, where he met millionaire Jimmy Pattison, an old friend who's helping him get started again. 20 years ago, Frank Baker didn't need any help. He was on top of the world, a partner in the Georgian Towers Hotel and later the Park Royal Hotel in North Vancouver. Baker was loaded. His partner was Frank Bernard.
You probably know him as well as anyone. If you were to pick his one strong point and his one weak point, what would they be?
Well, you hit on the weak point, is lack of control, getting down to the... he enjoys life to the fullest like nobody I've ever known. And he doesn't want to be bothered with the details. And if everything's going great, that's fine. But when it comes to promoting and making friends and making an impression and boosting himself and the city of Vancouver, he's done one hell of a job.
Okay, here we go! Ooh.
Success seemed to come easy for Baker. He once boasted he was spending $125,000 a year just to keep the tax man off his back. Mr. Vancouver was Mr. Entertainer, and Bob Constabaris was along for most of the parties.
Well, there's always a party around Frank. You know, he's working hard now, but he'll get back to that. There's always, wherever he is a party. Well, I never saw anybody that spent money like Frank. Frank had a saying, he'd say, people go shopping, I go buying. He really did. Hell, one time we were down in Hawaii, and I was home in bed early, and he'd been down at Keone's, and the flower girl came in selling roses. He bought every rose she had, 20 dozen of them, and he came home and just threw them on my bed. We had roses in the toilet. We had roses in 20 dozen roses in a suite in Hawaii is an awful lot of roses, but that's the kind of stuff he did.
Yeah, I'm a party guy, but I've settled down and I'm trying to be practical and do the things that are most sensible and most practical and yet most happy for other people. People are still my business.
When the party ended for Frank, the whole world seemed to collapse for his wife, Dorothy. Many of their friends didn't call anymore, and for a time, she says she was even ashamed to go out of the house.
It was a very difficult time for both of us. And I do feel in that time was a humbling time. It was maybe very good for us because we did stay together. That was probably the real tie that bound us together. And
What was it about Frank, do you think, that kept you there through all the parties and through all of the wild times?
You can blank this little bit. What was my alternative? So I think he's a very genuine person. To some people, it might seem like a false way of presenting himself, but I don't think so. I don't think it's an act. I think he's very genuine, and underneath it all, he's a very good man, and he's a very kind person, and to a fault at times. You know, he trusts and believes in everybody.
In the past, there was never enough room in the spotlight for Dorothy. She was at home raising the kids, but she's center stage now, making sure that Frank pays more attention to business, and besides, the restaurant's in her name. The food's better at the new restaurant as well. It may be a long road back, but Baker's on his way.
Thank you very, very much for being here tonight, folks. And don't forget to come back. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I guess I forgot the most important part of this whole deal. I forgot to introduce you to my dear wife, Dorothy, who actually owns the restaurant, is your hostess tonight. And come over here, dear, please. How about a nice round of applause for my dear wife, Dorothy? Yeah.
My favorite tune.
Now that the material things are gone, do you think you'll get them back, or?
I don't think I want them back. They're not that necessary. I really feel you can do very nicely without them.
We learned a lot of respect for people, dollars, the proper way to do things. Can you imagine me learning to be humble? That's tough.
Make it a big one. You made me look good, Frank.
There's no doubt about it. Frank Baker's a loudmouth and a show-off. But it's hard not to admire his perseverance. And who doesn't like someone who never gets tired of a joke? Especially when you can bet it'll be at his own expense.
Got one other question,
Certainly.
a little off the wall.
Go ahead.
Is that your real hair, Frank?
Pull it. Pull it. Pull it. Pull it hard.
It seems to be.
That's my real hair.
It's nice to see somebody else with bags under their eyes. I hope he had more fun getting his than I did mine. We'll be back after this short break.